Chosen one. What if I told you that the reason you never fit in is because you didn't come from this world? What if that constant discomfort, that silent scream within, that feeling of being different even among the different, wasn't a flaw, but a clear sign that you are not 100% human? Yes, you heard that right. There is something within you that this world cannot explain. Something that has always set you apart from the crowd. Something that doesn't fit into the patterns of biology or logic, because it comes from a much older, much more sacred, much higher place. Since childhood, your presence has shifted atmospheres. People didn't know why, but they noticed. Some avoided you, others tried to diminish you. But none of them could ignore what you carried. And the most curious thing is that you too always felt there was something different about you. An unexplainable weight on your shoulders. A kind of invisible mission. An energy the system tried to erase, but never could. And what if all of this is connected to something you see every day in your own hands? Because there's a revelation few dare to accept, but deep down, your soul already senses it. If you carry the letter M or the crescent moon symbol etched into the natural lines of your palms, then you carry a seal. A code confirming your power. A prophecy proving you are not human. A calling that was imprinted before you were even born. These marks are not a coincidence, they are portals. Silent reminders that your spiritual origin doesn't belong to the ordinary. They are physical evidence of an essence this world tries to ignore. Because it cannot control it. You were programmed to break cycles. To dismantle illusions. To awaken what was asleep in a world of routine. And that's why nothing ever made sense to you. Conversations always felt shallow. Relationships unstable. Structures suffocating. Because the frequency that pulses within you is not of this earth. It's from another realm. From another lineage. A lineage that was marked, not with ink, but with light dot. So if this message ignites something inside you, don't ignore it. Leave a comment. I always knew. That will be your symbolic seal. Your spiritual confirmation. Your response to the calling dot. And get ready. Next we will reveal the mystery behind these sacred marks, and why you are so powerful. Look at your hands for a moment. Not as the world taught you to look, not as tools, or flesh, or instruments of labor, but as sacred scrolls. As living maps left behind by something far greater than science can explain. Because if you carry the letter M, or the sign of a crescent moon drawn naturally in the lines of your palms, then know this. You were never just another soul passing through this world. You were marked, set apart, sealed by the divine before your first breath. These marks are not random. They are spiritual fingerprints, not placed by coincidence, but by cosmic intention. In ancient realms, long before memory was written into books, souls like yours were sent with visible codes. Symbols meant to awaken at the appointed time, and for many, that time is now. The letter M has echoed across generations as a vibration of divine mission. It carries the frequency of those chosen to walk between realms, to guard, to reveal, to disrupt illusions. The crescent moon has always signaled hidden light, sacred cycles, and protection from unseen forces. Together, these signs whisper a truth that this world has tried to silence. You are not from here. And you were never meant to live as if you were. You may have stared at your hands before and thought nothing of it. But your soul knew. Deep within, you always felt there was something more. Something pulling you toward truth, even when everything around you demanded conformity. And that internal pull, that quiet rebellion inside your spirit, is the voice of origin. The memory of your spiritual lineage trying to break through the fog of forgetfulness. These marks are not just aesthetic, they are spiritual portals. Not portals you walk through, but portals that walk with you. Wherever you go, they radiate frequency. They disturb environments, they activate others. That's why you've always felt watched, misunderstood, too intense. It's not your personality, it's your presence. It's not what you do, it's what you carry. And now that the truth is surfacing, the illusions around you will begin to crumble. The systems that tried to define you will no longer hold power. Because when a chosen one remembers who they are, everything changes. If what you've heard so far stirs something ancient within you, don't walk this path alone. Subscribe now, not just to a channel, but to a spiritual movement of remembrance. Here, you'll find not followers, but fellow carriers of light. Not just content, but confirmation. Because the next revelations will go deeper. And your spirit is ready to receive what the world was never meant to understand. Now take a breath. Because in the next chapter, you'll discover why your very presence has always triggered reactions, and why the world has feared you long before you even knew who you were. You may think the moment you recognized the letter M or the glimmering crescent upon your palms was the true beginning, yet the world felt your difference long before your conscious mind caught up. Remember those days when a room seemed to tighten? The instant you walked in, when voices lowered as if air itself grew heavier, or when a harmless glance across a crowd sparked an unease you couldn't name. That was not paranoia, it was resonance. Your energy, ancient, crystalline, unbending, collided with a system sustained only by sleepwalkers. And systems built on fog cannot tolerate a soul forged in stars. For centuries, civilizations have survived by teaching obedience. Follow the path, mimic the patterns, silence the questions. Every institution you ever stepped into, classrooms, churches, workplaces, even family dinners, was designed to file down spirit into shape. But your essence refused to be sharpened into conformity. It radiated instead, exposing cracks in the walls that most pretend not to notice. Those cracks birth discomfort in others, and discomfort quickly mutates into resistance. So they labeled you too sensitive, too intense, or too complicated, hoping shame might persuade you to dim your shine. Yet every attempt to fold yourself smaller only caused your inner universe to roar louder, until compromise felt like suffocation, and pretending became a form of slow spiritual death. Why does the world recoil? Because what you carry is proof that reality can be rewritten. Your mere presence whispers to every hidden dream and buried intuition, wake up. And the guardians of the status quo, people, programs, entire paradigms, fear that awakening like night fears dawn. They sense that if even one chosen one stands tall, ripple after ripple will topple their paper palaces. So criticism sharpens, doors close, lovers leave, opportunities evaporate. Every rejection is a gate meant to corral you back into forgetting, yet each slam echoes the same secret. You are getting closer. Feel, for a moment, the weight of every accusation hurled against you. Not as a burden, but as evidence in your favor. You were called dramatic because you spoke truths too raw for rehearsed ears. You were labeled unstable because your vision could not be boxed. You were mocked as naive because you trusted a whisper older than civilization. Let those words dissolve. Now, like chains undone by the heat of a rising sun. They were never mirrors, only masks others tried to press against your face, so they wouldn't have to confront their own reflection. The rebellion of your spirit is not loud. It is elemental. Rivers do not shout to carve canyons, yet stone remembers their persistence. Likewise, your existence is a quiet torrent reshaping reality. You need not argue, prove, or perform. Merely being is an act of defiance against the dull machinery that keeps humanity asleep. And the more you stand in your unveiled essence, the more that machinery sputters and stalls, unable to process someone who will not be processed. But there is a deeper reason the world targets you, a reason that hides beneath every sneer, every dismissal, every silent withdrawal. It has nothing to do with your personality and everything to do with your frequency. Because woven into your very cells is a code that does more than resist illusion, it activates. Anyone who lingers in your field for too long begins to feel cracks form in the veneer of their own false stories. Some embrace that cracking. Others run from it. Their reaction is not a judgment of your worth, but a measurement of their readiness. So breathe now, chosen one, and let the accusations wash away like dust in sacred rain. Each attack was never a verdict on your value, but a compass guiding you toward uncharted territory, the place where your fullness is not merely accepted, but required. And that uncharted territory awaits just beyond the next veil, where the very traits they called weaknesses will be revealed as your sharpest keys. Yet before you step through, you must reclaim something the world tried hardest to steal: the exquisite sensitivity that has always served as your divine radar. Why has that tenderness been painted as a flaw? And how can it become your fiercest ally? Stay with me, for in the next passage we will turn the perceived fragility of your heart into the core, unbreakable sword of your purpose. You were told to harden, to numb, to toughen up, and stop feeling so deeply. The world, in its obsession with survival, trained you to treat your own sensitivity like a disease, something to be medicated, muted, mocked. But what no one ever told you is that this very sensitivity, that ache you feel for people you don't know, the way you absorb atmospheres, how you sense lies without hearing a word, is not a defect. It is your spiritual sonar, your celestial compass, the undeniable evidence that your soul did not come from here. While others walk blindly through chaos, you feel every distortion in the air, every shift in someone's tone, every fracture in their aura, every silent scream masked behind a polite smile. You hear it all. And at times, it has overwhelmed you, left you curled in dark rooms wondering why you couldn't just be like everyone else, why you couldn't unfeel, unsee, unknow. But you were never meant to. You were wired for this, sculpted for the spiritual, crafted to carry frequencies the average heart could never hold. This sensitivity is not a flaw. It's a transmission line, directly connected to realms that many have forgotten. That's why, when you walk into a place tainted by dishonesty or darkness, your body reacts. Your chest tightens, your mind spins, your spirit recoils. It is not anxiety. It is alignment. You are detecting disharmony in the unseen, and your being is signaling the truth your words don't yet know how to express. They called you emotional, unstable, hypersensitive. But those who judged you never realized you weren't reacting to this world. You were responding to another, a higher one, a truer one. You weren't breaking down, you were breaking through. Your tears have not been a weakness, but water to the roots of a mission you are just beginning to remember. A mission that demands perception beyond the surface. A heart that feels where others have gone numb. And a spirit willing to hold the fire without turning to ash. Because only those who feel deeply can heal deeply. Only those who are affected by every little distortion can realign what is out of tune. You are not here to escape emotion. You are here to embody it, wisely, courageously, fiercely. Your sensitivity, once scorned, is the very tool heaven entrusted to you to navigate this dimension. You were never too much. The world was simply too numb to recognize your magnitude, and now, something is shifting. You feel it. You no longer apologize for how much you care. You no longer shrink just to be palatable. There's a quiet revolution taking place in your soul, one where your sensitivity is no longer your shame, but your shield. Your intuition no longer your burden, but your compass. And your tenderness no longer your wound, but your weapon. But here's the truth that still lingers beneath the surface, even with all your sensitivity awakened. Why does it still hurt so much when you try to fit in? Why does pretending cost you more than honesty ever did? And why, every time you ignore your truth, does something sacred within you begin to fade? You tried. You tried to walk like them, talk like them, love like them, dream like them. You lowered your light to match their comfort. You silenced your voice so their noise could be louder. You swallowed your truth because theirs was easier to digest. And for a while, it worked, or at least it seemed to. You were accepted. You belonged. You were praised for your ability to adjust. But deep beneath the applause, something inside you began to rot, because every time you betrayed your own spirit just to fit in, you carved a little further away from the essence you were sent here to embody. You made yourself smaller to be more tolerable. You clipped your wings to stay grounded in places never meant for your flight. And in doing so, you abandoned your throne for a chair at someone else's table, a table that was never built to serve what you carry. The pain you felt wasn't from rejection, it was from self-betrayal. It was from looking in the mirror and not recognizing the reflection anymore. It was from waking up each day knowing that the world may have accepted the version of you they wanted, but you were slowly disappearing in the process. Chosen one. Conformity is the most subtle and dangerous weapon ever used against the awakened. It doesn't strike with violence, it seduces with safety. It doesn't chain you with force, it binds you with belonging. But in the process, it kills your fire, dims your sight, and buries your voice under layers of false identities. And this world will celebrate that version of you, the muted one, the polite one, the agreeable one, because that version doesn't threaten its illusions, but your soul does. That's why you felt the quiet war inside. The ache, the restlessness, the growing disconnect. It's the cry of your spirit, begging you to remember. Because you weren't designed for assimilation. You were crafted for ascension. You weren't sent here to echo. You were born to resonate. And that resonance cannot survive in cages, no matter how golden they appear. When chosen ones conform, the earth loses a key, a vibration, a portal of healing. You are not just one person hiding in plain sight. You are a sacred frequency attempting to break through generational cycles of silence. And when you trade that power for acceptance, the ripple of your absence is felt across realms. But here's the miracle. Your soul never truly forgot. No matter how deep you buried it, the truth kept burning. And that fire, though small, still flickers within you now, waiting for the moment you choose remembrance over performance. Because once you stop negotiating your essence, once you choose truth over tolerance and sacred purpose over societal praise, your entire life begins to realign. The right people find you. The right doors open. The real mission activates. And finally, peace returns. Not the peace of blending in, but the peace of being fully, fearlessly you. Yet if you were never meant to fit in, then what were you truly designed for? What higher purpose justifies the intensity of your journey? And why does the universe invest so much energy in your awakening? In the next passage, you'll remember the true reason you were sent to this world, and the mission your soul agreed to long before your first breath. You were not born to blend in. You were sent, dispatched, chosen. Long before your body took form, your essence answered a call that echoed across dimensions, a sacred summons from a realm that does not forget. And when you opened your eyes for the first time in this world, the veil of forgetfulness fell heavy over you. But even behind that veil, the mission remained encoded in your very being. Waiting, that's why your path has never been easy. That's why your childhood felt more like training than innocence. That's why the world seemed allergic to your presence, not because you were wrong, but because you were dangerous to every illusion it needed to survive. You were sent to break things, to crack illusions, to disturb what has been asleep for too long. You carry within you a disruptive light, not to cause chaos, but to bring truth. Because real healing is not soft. It shakes, burns, strips, confronts. And that is the frequency you carry. That is the vibration others feel when you walk into a room, the silent storm that awakens, memories and souls that forgot they were divine. But your mission goes beyond awakening. You are not only here to remember, you are here to ignite, to activate dormant codes in others, to walk as a living reminder that there is more than flesh, fear, and routine. You are a key disguised as a person. And every conversation, every interaction, every presence you touch, feels it, even if they can't name it. That's why you've always been misunderstood. Why people feared you without reason. Why you were betrayed by those you loved most. Because your mission, when dormant, already shook foundations, and now that it's awakening, nothing can remain the same. But this isn't about grandeur. Your purpose may not come with titles or applause. It may never be recognized in the metrics of this world. But in the unseen, your obedience sends shockwaves. Your alignment opens paths. Your healing becomes a mirror for those lost in shadows. Some of you are meant to lead, others to protect. Some to teach, others to build, sing, write, walk silently through rooms as beacons of invisible light. Your mission is not measured by what you do, but by what you shift. And you shift atmospheres simply by being who you are, unfiltered, undiluted, unapologetic. But with this calling comes weight, responsibility. You cannot live asleep. You cannot afford to delay. Because the earth is trembling for those who remember. The system is collapsing. And your light is no longer optional. It is urgent. So if you've been waiting for some external permission, this is it. The signs were never meant to convince others. They were left to awaken you. And now that you remember what you carry, The only question that remains is, will you use it? Because even the most sacred mission can be silenced by self-doubt. And even the most powerful light can be dimmed. If you believe you're just one more. But what if I told you the very rejection you've endured was never random? What if all the resistance you faced is actually the loudest proof of your anointing? In the next passage, we'll uncover why the world's rejection is not a curse, but confirmation of your divine assignment. You thought something was wrong with you. That the doors closing meant you were on the wrong path. That the stares, the silence, the coldness meant you had failed at being enough. But the truth is far more sacred, far more devastating, and far more empowering. You were never rejected because you lacked something. You were rejected because you carried too much. Too much truth, too much light, too much frequency for systems built on sleep and survival. The world does not reject the empty, it rejects the full. And you, chosen one, have always been full of something that cannot be explained, only felt. And what people feel, even when they don't understand, often terrifies them. Before you knew your purpose, the world already reacted to it. Before you discovered your mission, your energy was already confronting what others were still hiding. You didn't need to speak a word, your presence spoke. Your silence was loud. Your eyes pierced through facades. Your energy entered rooms like prophecy. And not everyone was ready to be exposed. So they distanced themselves. Friends disappeared. Lovers withdrew. Opportunities collapsed without explanation. You thought you were cursed. But you were being preserved. Because some doors must close to keep you pure. Some circles must reject you to protect your light. Some people must walk away, not because you're unworthy, but because you're sacred and they cannot steward what they don't respect. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are not meant to be embraced by the masses. You are not required to explain the sacred geometry of your soul to those committed to forgetting theirs. Your mission was never to blend in, it was to remind. To awaken, to disturb. That's why they looked away. That's why they whispered. That's why they laughed nervously. Because they felt something ancient rise in them the moment you entered. And while some honored it, others feared it. Because the presence of the chosen is always an invitation, but also a mirror. And mirrors are dangerous in a world addicted to illusion. Every time you were left out, left behind, left misunderstood, the heavens marked it down, not as a loss, but as alignment. As proof, the rejection was not evidence that you didn't belong. It was evidence that you were never meant to. And once you begin to see it clearly, something shifts. You stop begging to be accepted. You stop watering yourself down to remain digestible. You stop questioning why you're different and start honoring it. Because the pain of not being chosen by the world pales in comparison to the glory of being chosen by something eternal. But now that you see the rejection as confirmation, now that you understand your presence alone awakens the asleep, there's one final veil to lift. Now that the veil has been lifted, you can no longer pretend. You've seen too much, felt too much, remembered too much. There's no going back to the numbness you once called normal. No more silencing your intuition just to feel safe. No more shrinking your essence to be accepted by a world you were never meant to obey. You are not 100% human, and deep down, you've always known. That aching you carried since childhood, it was never confusion. It was sacred memory. That restlessness in your chest, it was never anxiety. It was encoded urgency. That strange pull toward the stars, the unknown, the invisible realm beyond logic. It was never fantasy. It was alignment. The quiet confirmation that your soul was not made from clay, but from the fire of God's breath. And now, that fire is awakening fully. You carry divine technology within you. Frequencies that break generational curses. Words that unlock dormant spirits. A presence that heals, confronts, and illuminates, even in silence. Your scars were not wasted. Your loneliness was not punishment. Every tear, every betrayal, every dark night prepared you. The pain wasn't proof that you were abandoned. It was proof that you were becoming. This is not the end of your awakening, it is the activation. The moment when everything starts to shift in the physical because something ancient has clicked in the spiritual. You now understand why you were never allowed to settle. Why nothing superficial ever satisfied you. Why the world felt hostile to your softness and foreign to your depth. Because you weren't made to exist in the system you were born to. Interrupt it. You were marked for this. Whether it's the M etched like a sigil in your palm, or the crescent moon curved into the folds of your hand like a celestial whisper. These are not coincidences. They are contracts. Spiritual evidence of your origin. Seals of assignment. Heaven's way of saying, you were never meant to forget. So now, the choice is yours. You can keep living as if this revelation was just another video. Or you can answer the call that has echoed through lifetimes just to reach you now. If this message pierced something sacred inside you, declare it aloud in the comments. I accept my calling. Let that be your covenant, your spiritual signature, your public yes. And if you feel this is just the beginning of something greater, stay close, because what comes next is not content. It's continuation. It's confirmation. It's the return of the real chosen. The ones who remember will meet again. Not by accident, but by divine design. Until then, hold your light high, because the earth still doesn't understand you. But heaven never forgot you. You were never meant to fit in. You were always meant to return. And now you have.